Good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday, April 12th, and Macaulay Culkin had a kid. What's up, Tom?
Not much, man.
Do you even know who Macaulay Culkin
It's
is?
the kid from Home Alone.
Yeah, okay, good. I was going to say you better leave us that one. All right, go on. What were you
I was
saying?
just gonna say it's been a pretty light day for classes since one of them gave us a mental health day off. So I only had the one.
Did they really call him mental health
So
day?
my school has been trying to do like this big movement for mental health since COVID started. Because there have been more people on my campus going, I guess, to the counseling services or whatever. So, and also Butler's gotten bashed in the past for their how do I put this delicately? Their not willingness, let's call it, to like kind of work with that. So they're trying to help it out a little bit more. And my professor was like, "Hey, we're gonna take another mental health day on Monday. Take 45 minutes to yourself." So I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
45 minutes to yourself, that's like a full day to yourself. I mean,
Exactly. I didn't know what to do with myself.
You could do everything in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So we took a little bit of break last week. We only did one podcast, but we figured it was time to, I know you by now you've been missing us so much that you miss our voices. So we're back, but we took a little break after March Madness before we head right into football season. Which is pretty much what we're gonna do. So we'll talk a little bit of football, NFL, but first, obviously, today in sports history, in 1858, it was the first U.S. billiards championship. Michael J. Phelan wins in Detroit. This one's crazy. In 1877, the first catcher's mask was worn in a baseball game. That's like those old time like hockey goalies that were like. I remember hearing a story one time like about some of the old goalies that they would literally just come off the ice and like you couldn't see their eye. Everything was bleeding and they just keep going.
Yeah. Well, didn't baseball like start up in 1800? So it took them 77 years to get the catchers a mask.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was like when I first looked at it, I was like, that's crazy. But then you got to think back in 1800. I mean, they were probably topping out at around 55 miles an hour. So.
That's true.
They weren't hitting triple digits.
Yeah, that's true.
And then obviously we got to introduce some cricket. There is actually a cricket match going on right now in the Indian Premier League. I'll check on it once we get talking. But in 1930, Wilfred Rhodes ends his Test cricket career, aged 52 years old and 165 days. Clearly, there's a difference between Test cricket and cricket. I'll get on top of that, and we'll figure it out.
Cricket.
And then also in just kind of random news, Macaulay Culkin had a child today with Brenda Song, and you probably don't remember.
I know.
But I remember. Do you know who Brenda Song is?
Yeah.
London Tipton.
She was on London Tipton.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna say.
Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. So she's been everywhere. I can't believe they got married, but good for Macaulay Culkin. I remember seeing the first picture of him in a while back when I was like 5 years ago. And I was like, that dude, he's gonna die.
Horrible.
Yeah. But yeah, so good for Macaulay Culkin. He also dated Mila Kunis too, which is weird. But all right. So before we get started and get into news. This seemed to take over Twitter and all of social media over the weekend and last week after the trades. It's who was the best quarterback to come out of the 2018 class? Because obviously Sam Darnold just got traded, and then whatever. It was just all over Twitter this weekend, and I couldn't escape it. You won't find a Browns fan that says anyone other than Baker Mayfield, even if they don't mean it.
Yeah.
But I would still rather have Baker right now, but Josh Allen is a physical beast. But he also has those moments that's like he just like kind of scrambles and doesn't know what he was doing. So
I mean, that was Sam Darnold. 90% of the time he was taking snaps for the Jets.
Right.
And that a lot of the times his best plays, if you look up his highlights from the Jets, they're all when he's on the run and just being an athlete, and he throws this absolute dart. But when he actually had to like just drop back and throw a normal pass, it was like all over the place. No, I think the clear answer here is Josh Allen. Even though we've only really seen one good season from him.
I don't think it's a clear-cut answer. And it's definitely not a clear-cut answer because you also have to add in Lamar Jackson.
He's a running back.
I agree. He wouldn't. I'm 100%. I commented. I was like, I guess you got to think about Lamar Jackson. But then I remembered all the things I've been saying about Kyler Murray, and I was like, that's exactly going to happen to Lamar Jackson. So,
but worse because his arm is worse than Kyler Murray's.
Yeah. Basically, the Ravens have to capitalize in like the next 2 or 3 years,
before he's done.
Or Lamar Jackson will just become. Maybe that's just what happens. Like. Everyone is just a new form of Robert Griffin. Like 007 is always the name, but like he's not definitely the same person. So it's Robert Griffin, and then Lamar Jackson will have to change his name to Robert Griffin. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but like Lamar, in my opinion, is not like a true quarterback. He's like a wildcat quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, I mean.
I understand it's between Allen and Baker, and both of them have had one good. I guess technically Baker's now had 2, but like his rookie season was what did he play? All but 4 games. He came in during that 4th game of the season versus the Jets.
That was week 3, I think. I'm almost positive.
Something like that. And
it was week 3. It was week 3 because they opened with the Steelers and. They tied the Steelers. So the losing streak kept going because it wasn't a win.
2018, let's see.
Third
week.
They played the Steelers and then the Saints, and they almost beat the Saints as well.
Yep. And then they beat the Jets.
Yes.
But
he didn't even have that great a drive. But back to the question, I will say this. I think that question needs to be asked unbiasedly. So everyone in Buffalo, New York, and everyone in Cleveland can't answer that because they're both going to pick them.
If we're talking like straight honesty, I'm sure we all can agree Josh Rosen was easily the best quarterback out of this. He doesn't play. He makes his money as a backup. Like he's living the Blue Mountain State life.
I mean, actually, I don't even know if he's in the league anymore. Like
he's on the Niners.
Oh, he is? Okay. Well, when I saw this question, I mean, what comes to my mind is obviously Baker, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Sam Darnold. I kind of forget about Josh Rosen, really. But I thought for sure when they were coming out, I was like, Josh Rosen is going to be the next Peyton Manning, and Sam Darnold is the next, Tom Brady. I thought they were both going to be so good, and it couldn't be more different. And I want teams at the top of the draft, and this includes you Jets. I want teams to take a hard look at what happened in that draft and maybe go a little bit off that. But I don't know. It's just like I said, it was all over social media this weekend, and it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like I had said, and we had kind of already mentioned, like it's between Baker and Allen, and it comes kind of down to preference. Both of them haven't had neither one have been consistent. Josh Allen finally took his first step forward. What?
I have ink all over my hands.
I was like, what is that?
All right, give me 1 second. Keep going.
Yeah. Josh Allen finally took his first step forward and was in the MVP contention, in my opinion. But Baker hasn't been the consistent guy that everyone kind of expected him to be. He had the I would say relatively good rookie season. I know he had historic numbers for a rookie, so I guess you want to say that's good. That's great. His second season was not the best, and now he had kind of a meh-ish year this year. But it comes down to preference and where you think they're going to go from now. But
yeah,
like I said, it's just preference.
And like I said, in Cleveland, and even me, you're not going to find anyone that doesn't say Baker, but if you actually just kind of look at it as a fan and a football a commentator expert, Josh Allen was a better fit in Cleveland. He's a perfect fit in Buffalo too, but Buffalo and Cleveland are so alike that now that Josh Allen's good, I kind of just wish Baker was 4 inches taller.
Exactly.
It's just true. Big quarterbacks win in the AFC North. So
see, but I would argue that Allen's a better fit for Buffalo than he was for Cleveland, because Cleveland actually has running backs and they don't need to utilize his rushing ability. Whereas in Buffalo, I think he was the leading rusher, at least through the first half of the season.
Yeah, he was. I know that. I think he led him.
I think he might have led him in
touchdowns.
Oh, I know he led him in
rushing touchdowns.
That's 100%. But I think he might have even ended off the season as the rushing leader.
Yeah, he kind of. Now that you say it, you know who he kind of reminds me of? Like Tim Tebow when he was Tim Tebow of Florida. He kind of reminds me of with how big of a game changer he can be at the goal line. I don't know what I was gonna say. Yeah, like I said, we'll move on though. That's what I was gonna say. We will be going over your article, and I have some things to say about the Bills for sure, because I think they made one of the worst mistakes of the offseason, not looking back on it, but we'll get to that.
Just by the way, Josh Allen ran for 421 yards. Devin Singletary, the starting running back, ran for 687. So I wasn't too far off when I said that he might have been rushing.
We'll talk about it. I mean, I feel like the Jets or the Bills are so close to like the serious contention that like they should have made some moves, I thought, this offseason that they did.
And I know I've talked about this. All right, we can go. Never mind.
Go ahead. Keep going.
I'll bring it up later. I was going to, yeah.
So we'll get into some news. In college football, Eddie George has been named the coach at Tennessee State. Good for him. I don't know what division that is, but when I first saw it, I thought for sure it was Middle Tennessee State, but it's not. So I don't know, but good for Eddie George. I'll always remember Eddie George. He was like, when I was growing up, the two blues for the Titans were like my favorite color, so I was always a Titans fan. On top of that, Justin Fields is doing another pro day. Do you know why?
So him and Trey Lance were both going on. I think it started at 2:00.
It already started. Okay.
Yeah. So I know Lance is doing it for obvious reasons because he has a lot more to prove. But Fields had a really impressive first pro day. So I was kind of thrown off why he would do a second. But I guess it's high risk, high reward. I mean.
Yeah, everyone talked about like how good Zach Wilson looked throwing. I mean, I would rather see Zach Wilson have another pro day than Justin Fields. I mean, I think you kind of know what you're getting.
I think he might. I think Wilson also might have another one coming up, if I saw that correct.
And honestly, we could both be wrong, and it could just honestly be about COVID, so they have to do 2 pro days or something like that to get people in. So I don't know, but he will have another pro day. Like I said, I think we're at the point now looking at the draft where I think we both expect Lawrence, Lance, Fields, Jones,
and Wilson
all are going to go in the top 10 picks. I don't see any of them pulling out of the top 10.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if and the bottom of my board out of those is Jones. But like with all the hype with him going to San Francisco, the next guy off the bottom of my list is Trey Lance. I've been seeing some mock drafts have Lance fall to 15 to the Patriots. I would legitimately cry if that happened.
I hate that. I think we talked about that last episode. Yeah. But no, I think even if like Mac Jones really isn't the pick at the 49ers, I think that he is. Just the fact that the 49ers had him in the same conversation as the third pick, he'll become a top 10 pick just because of what people think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just going to be interesting, but if don't talk about the Patriots getting another quarterback already. Like we need like a 3-year break from them. Like
you're telling me I got to play him twice a year. I want to see Bill Belichick literally go like 2-15 and then retire because of it.
Honestly, it would be a dream come true for me if the Patriots went like 1-15, 2-14, like just had a really bad year, and then in the end it was just like Bill retires and he's like, "Yeah, guys, it was all Tom Brady. Sorry about that." So
I love the fact that he's going out and trying to like prove it wasn't. When we all know, like, it kind of was.
Yeah.
You know, everyone was saying, oh, it's both of them together. They can't thrive without one another. I was under the impression that it was because it was Tom Brady. I made the joke that Tom Brady's a system quarterback or whatever. But, like, everyone kind of knew with the receivers that he had and what little he had around him on the offense, for them to consistently make the playoffs and go to the Super Bowls, like, I personally knew it was always Tom Brady. I thought Belichick's defense was a great combination with that, but I always thought it was just that Tom Brady was the best. Like that's kind of like where it went, and now we're seeing it.
And that's why it would be awesome, because if they suck this year, because Bill, everyone is saying right now, like, oh, he signed Nelson Aguilar, like Bill knows something special. It would just be great if they all actually played like they're supposed to play, and people would just be like, that was the dumbest move ever, Bill. Like, just get out of the league. So.
Yeah, throwing money at Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry.
Well, we'll get into the tight ends, but
okay.
And then I think I have some. Another guy that seems to be. We're gonna come to a day and age where, I'm not kidding, like more than half of the first round picks are gonna be quarterbacks. Like, because Kellen Monde is now flying up draft boards.
I've been talking about Kellen Monde forever, and you keep telling me I'm an idiot. I like Kellen Monde.
I think he's better than Zach Wilson.
I kind of agreed to a certain extent, but we'll see. I've been talking about Kellen Monde for a while, right? I think he's good. Everyone was saying, oh, he's 7th round talent, 6th round talent. I'm like, look, if someone's going to take a shot on him in the 3rd or 4th round, like, I don't hate that. I'm not saying he should be a 1st round pick, but everyone's telling me that I'm dumb for even considering him as like a 3rd round pick at the end of the 3rd round. But no, I really like his skill set.
Yeah, he's I can't find how tall he is. How tall is he? Well, first of all, I think I've told you before, but for the past like 5 years, I thought Kellen Monde was left-handed, and he's not, which is crazy.
He is 6'3".
Okay, yeah, no. For whatever reason, I also thought he was like a small quarterback. I just really hate all the Big 12 quarterbacks. Well, Texas A&M's the SEC, but yeah, he's flying up draft boards, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, like I said, we're going to come to a day and age where like
quarterbacks go like fucking
50% of them.
13, 15 quarterbacks in the first round.
We're going to come, maybe we'll come to a point where, because like every 5 years, a team has to draft a new quarterback because they just use their rookie contract and then they're just like, screw it, which makes some sense. Like
that's reality, what they do with running backs right now. It's not too outrageous to think that quarterbacks will end up doing the same thing.
Because you see all this money that Patrick Mahomes is making, and it's hard to build a team around that. So when you can get a rookie, like a rookie on his rookie deal, like that's huge. So, I mean, that's what I mean. Obviously, it's what the Chiefs did 2 years ago, and that's what I don't know, someone else did a couple years ago. I don't know why.
The team that started it all, in my opinion, was Seattle. Seattle with Russell Wilson.
Yes,
paying him
that's
nothing
exactly what I was thinking.
And building up the defense. That's exactly what it was.
I mean, the Browns are on that path right now, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Sure.
So filling in everybody on the FCS, it's hard to believe, but it's crazier than college football was in the fall. I have no idea who's going to make it. I don't know who's going to make the playoffs. North Dakota State's back to being number one. There are some, if you do want to watch some football this weekend, there are some really good games. South Dakota State will play North Dakota State at the Fargo Dome. That'll be number 1 versus number 3. James Madison also got lucky and did schedule another game versus their rival Richmond. That'll be this weekend. And then Delaware is playing at Nova. I honestly started this, and this is just kind of me blabbering. I started this is just because I wanted to keep following football. I love it. It's more exciting. It's not more exciting than the NFL or regular college football, but it being in the spring and just I'm so happy I lucked into this. So where was I? There we go. So yeah, it should be a big weekend. Like I said, South Dakota State and North Dakota State got rescheduled from 2 weeks ago. So they will be playing this weekend. We might have a guest later this week on previewing the weekend for the FCS. But definitely, if you're a football fan, it's on ESPN3. I think they're going to have some games on ESPN. Definitely check it out, and definitely check out the selection show on Sunday because it's way different than the NCAA March Madness one because I have no idea who's going to make it or not. So it's definitely something to just do. Okay, this is where you come in, Tom. This is where you come in. We're not at the NFL yet, but you're younger and smarter than me.
Okay.
What is an NFT?
An NFT. It's
Luka
a
Garza just sold his NFT for $40,000.
it's like it's some like online currency thing. I'm looking up what it means specifically.
I thought for sure you know this.
No, I know the term. I've never actually like looked into it. It's a non-fungible token. It's another like online currency thing. I don't even know. It's a crypto art tech. There's so much crap about this that I don't even understand, that I just kind of avoid it all the time. But like it's basically online currency. Just to put it as basic as possible.
So it's like Bitcoin?
Something like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you know what? Good for Luka Garza. They lost in the second round, and he immediately sold his for $40,000. I don't know what it is. I don't know how this can be a thing when everyone can get hacked. Like, I don't know. I just don't get it. I was hoping for a better answer out of you, but we'll just move on because I don't think either one of us know. And I don't have the patience to sit here and have someone tell me about NFT.
Yeah, no, I don't understand it. I'm a sports person, not a cryptocurrency guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all. Hey, if you want to give me some Bitcoins, I'm all in on Bitcoin. But
I'll take some Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'll take some Bitcoin. Who knows? Maybe in like 10 years, it'll be worth something. Who knows? So yeah, Luka Garza sold his for $40,000. I don't get it. Cincinnati fired their coach. His last name is Brennan. They had an investigation into, I believe, paying players and some other maybe like abuse or something. It was just a bad situation, so he got fired. Cincinnati has been a nonstop revolving door since who coaches West Virginia? Bob Huggins was there. Bob Huggins was there. So which stinks because Cincinnati is a good, cool school, and it's cool to see basketball there, but whatever. Kind of a shocker in college basketball. First of all, have you seen how the transfer portal is going to be for basketball?
No, I didn't.
I mean, it's basically going to be free agency for college basketball. Like North Carolina's bet, like they already had one freshman that from this past year opt into the transfer portal, but also because every single senior this year gets another year, they can go wherever they want to transfer. Garrison Brooks, who was the best player in North Carolina, isn't going to stay. He's transferring out. But the reason I bring that up is the top scoring transfer. His name is Michael Flowers. He played at South Alabama. He averaged like 24 a game. He had his pick of the litter of who he wanted to play for, and he decided he's going to go to Washington State. Very odd.
Like, did he have like legit teams looking for him?
I don't know who wouldn't. I mean, he was ranked as the top transfer. I don't know. I mean, if you score 21 points a game,
yeah,
I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I tweeted this last week. Unfortunately, I don't think Hubert Davis's first year at the helm in North Carolina is going to go very well.
Yeah,
I hope it's okay, but I think this with Hubert Davis, this needs to be like about a 12 to 16 month trial period. And then if it doesn't work, you got to move on as soon as you can, because otherwise you'll end up like an Oklahoma is now, like a once a blue blood kind of thing. So
yeah,
whatever. Yeah, and the only other thing I have about it is the tournament really is like everyone's still talking about how Gonzaga had this great run and how amazing they were. They got killed. Like, and they also played a super easy road to get to the Final Four. So I don't get the people that are like congratulate Baylor. What they did was freaking awesome. Like they all stayed together. It just blows my mind that people keep wanting to anoint Gonzaga like the world's team.
Like, I understand they went 30-1, and there are very few teams that can go 30-1, but it's just they didn't, like you said, they didn't play anyone. They played some people in the beginning of the season when everyone was still rusty and getting the COVID wheels off and all that crap.
Yeah. Like, yeah, honestly, if we were like, I don't know how the selection committee did it, but if I was such pity, I would have looked at the first half of the season as like I would have looked at the team as two different records because the first half of the season, I mean, everyone was out with COVID, games were canceled left and right. But yeah, keep going.
I was just gonna say, like, I get that it was 30-1, but like they played Pepperdine twice. They played San Francisco twice. Like,
I mean, the best team they played was St. Mary's, who usually is okay. Wasn't even okay this year.
I mean, they played BYU twice, actually 3 times because they played them in the conference championship game too. But like they did play, I think, Kansas in the beginning of the season. I think we've gone over their schedule a couple of times.
They played good teams in the beginning of the season. They did. They were supposed to play Baylor, but it got canceled. Yeah,
because Baylor had their COVID thing or whatever. But like they didn't play anyone after like the first month of the season. And they got lucky with the way that the bracket shaped out that they didn't have to run into Iowa. Because in all honesty, I don't know if they would have beaten Iowa. The way that they played, they would have played, I think, in the Elite Eight. So they would have had to.
Yeah, they would have played. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they should have lost to UCLA. I mean,
they should have lost to
UCLA. So I just don't. I like the only thing that brings me peace a little bit is the last team that almost went undefeated was Kentucky, and I don't even remember who was on that team really. I mean, I could throw out Kentucky names. Like you can name a lot of NBA players that came into the league from like 2012 to 2019, and they went to Kentucky, but you don't even know. But so that gives me hope. But I don't get the infatuation with Gonzaga.
The Kentucky team had Karl Anthony Towns, Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yes, I know who. Yeah, exactly. I know who they are, but like,
you said you weren't shoe.
Sorry. Whatever. Like I said, I don't know. Whatever. They lost. It's just
I mean, like going 30.
Like they had,
yeah,
exactly. All right.
Gross is all I can say for it. Gross.
The MLB. I have one thing. Of all the sports that has now implemented VAR or not VAR, VAR is what it is in soccer. Instant replay. All right, I'm taking this. This is a broader spectrum almost. I have never seen an entity like Major League Baseball fuck themselves over left and right for so many years. It's unbelievable how stupid baseball is. They want to shorten the game. Let's add replays. What was the other thing? Oh, in the extra innings, start with the guy on second base. So like, and all the time when they release like their finalists for awards, it's like the day of the Game 7 of the NBA Finals. They are so far in the past that I don't know if baseball will be a top 5 sport in the next 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, baseball has been a dying sport for a really long time now, and they're trying to mess with it. And honestly, like I used to watch baseball, not like religiously, because like I could never sit down for 162 games of baseball. I can't even sit down for 82 games of basketball. But like I would watch like 50 games a year, plus when the Mets make the playoffs or whatever.
Throw it on every once in a while, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm like doing homework or something and I just want something in the background. Like I used to play baseball. I loved baseball. I played it since I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I played it until the end of my junior year of high school. So like I can't sit and watch baseball, right? On the topic of the video replays, and like this is going to kind of suck because it happened to the Mets, or it happened because of the Mets. I don't know if you saw it. It was the bottom of the 9th or something. Yeah, bottom of the 9th.
Was that the one that somebody was talking about today?
Maybe.
That the call that stood or something that go on.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So it's bottom of the 9th, bases loaded with 2 outs. Michael Conforto, I think, is up to bat, and he's a lefty. A pitch goes in that's kind of close to him. And he doesn't really move his elbow out of the way. Like you're supposed to kind of like turn or whatever. He doesn't really move his elbow. And there's like this little extension and it hits off his plate. Like it literally nicks his plate. And they called it a hit by pitch, even though it was in the strike zone. And the game was over on a walk-off hit by pitch with 2 outs. And they went back and reviewed it because like you're not allowed to review if it was a strike or not, but you're allowed to review if it hit him, I think.
Yeah, but you are. Because
it's something like that. I don't know baseball like that anymore, but there's some rule that they were reviewing.
Yes. It happened to the Indians in, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. They were playing the Yankees in the first round, and whoever was up, it hit the bottom of his bat. So it was a foul ball.
Yeah, it's a foul.
But they reviewed it forever. And they said it hit his hand. Yeah.
That's still technically your hands are supposed to be a part of your bat. So if it hits your hands, it's still supposed to be a foul.
Which also brings me to the other point. The only people that like baseball are the ones that are going to come on here and argue about the rules of it. Like, it's just baseball. Just play baseball. Like,
yeah, like, but kind of what I'm going, like, with the whole Conforto thing, like, I kind of like the NFL and the NBA and college basketball where they just let them play. Like, the call that's called is what stands, right? So, like, if they took out replay in baseball, or the NFL has cut down on their replays in recent years. Like, they're just playing it as is and playing with the punches because that's what it is. Like, there's always going to be bad calls in sports, right? You're never going to get away from them. You just got to play with what's there and keep going. So, like, baseball wants to shorten their games, just take out replays in general. And the Angel Hernandezes of behind home plate are going to make the game suck a little bit. But, like, that's also kind of part of the sport.
Yeah, I think I wrote some of this down in the outline, but I almost look at it is baseball, the MLB and the NBA are their own different entity, kind of. Like, the NFL does everything in their power to make sure they are the top sport, and they continue to do that, and they do it well. Like, if you think about it, professional football players should be the least popular of the athletes because you can't see their face. But right now, if you look around, I bet you 95% of people or sports fans would be able to point out a football player before they could point out a baseball player. And yes, that does have something to do with just baseball players kind of look like regular Joes sometimes. But it's just insane to me how baseball has done absolutely nothing to help themselves.
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring this up because this is actually one of the major topics that we've been talking about in recent weeks in my sports and culture class. One of the facts that I had brought up at one point was that Mike Trout is like, he's literally the face of baseball. Some are saying he's like one of the best players ever to step on the diamond.
He'll go down as a top 5 player of all time.
He should as well. He should. He's like the 30th most marketable athlete in sports. And he's the face of an entire league, an entire sport.
It's not even that he is the face of now. He's been the face for the last 5 or 6 years. And like I said, I barely recognized him when I saw him at a hotel in Cleveland before I got a picture with him. Someone was like, "There's Mike Trout." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, let me get a pic. Exactly. But like he's literally like the 30th most marketable athlete in all of sports. And he's literally the face of the MLB. They don't get him deals. They don't like make commercials about him for the MLB. They don't advertise his games enough because he's on the Angels, which, by the way, he's in Los Angeles. He's in a major market. And I understand there's the Dodgers too, but like you got to give love to the face of the MLB and his team.
Yeah,
I can't watch an Angels game unless they're playing a team over here. And with all of the ways to watch football and games across the league and across the country, like you would think they'd have the same thing for baseball. You can't find an Angels game here.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me, and I think I wrote this down too. It brings me up to another point that I hate talking about this. I do. A lot of like the Power 5 ADs were polled, and a lot more than 50% of them said that they are worried about women's athletics in college. And I am not anything like against it or anything. It just comes down to, yes, I expect them to be worried about women's sports because it doesn't make money. And that's nothing against women. That's nothing like that, but it doesn't make money. Like, and then when colleges, if they do, and they should, switch over to allowing athletes to benefit from their likeness, who do you think is going to benefit the most? It's going to be men's sports. And so I have no idea what to do. I love Megan Rapinoe. I think she stands up for great things. I love when she talks. I loved it when she called Draymond Green an ass last week. But like, there's a reason that it's there. I don't know. I don't want to get too far into it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm also just going to add one thing that might be like controversial or something, but I like looking at numbers of things. If you look at the way that the World Cup teams and like Team USA gets money for like the stuff, per like 100,000 viewers or whatever, the women's team actually made more money, but the men just bring in a lot more revenue. And that's, like you said, it's nothing against women or anything. That's just kind of the way things are. And I agree. It's honestly, it's unfair that
it
people
sucks. It sucks a lot right now because like the women's soccer team, like they're the real they're the real United States. Like I don't think of the U.S. men's national team as USMNT.
Yeah.
Like when someone says United States playing soccer, I'm like, all right, where's
I always think of the women.
Where's Alex Morgan? Like, let's go. Like, but I mean, and once again, we talked about, but the men missed out on the Olympics this year, so it sucks. Like, so I understand completely what they are saying. I 100% get it, and I 100% agree with them. But you just can't make up the fact that it's such a huge gap in popularity.
Yeah, and that's all really it is. Because, like I said, technically per 100,000 views, they make the more money. But it's just the fact, and it really sucks as a society that people like focus on the men's sports more, and it's very unfair. And I understand that, but like that's just what it is, and it kind of sucks. And I despise it.
The last thing I'll say about this is ESPN. Because they never, I mean, we talked about earlier how bad the NCAA made that deal with CBS, but now that ESPN has no rights to March Madness, I think they do a pretty damn good job of trying to market the women's tournament. I mean, if you go to the ESPN during March Madness, everything on the front page is from the women's tournament. So I think they do a great job. But while saying that, it is still so unpopular. Like, I could when I get to that page, I maybe glance over the scores, and then I can't wait to get to March men's side, even fat. So it sucks. And like I said, I understand where they're coming from. It's just I don't know how you fix it. And
it's unfortunate. And the way you fix it is to change the mentality of an entire society, which can't be done in a day, unfortunately.
It'll never be done, but whatever. That was our serious note. Anything else in the NBA? I mean, I'm done with the MLB. Second overall pick. This is what else? I mean, apparently NBA is like more popular than it's ever been. I don't see how.
No, that's not true. That's not true whatsoever. They're losing viewership numbers by the year. I mean, last year, game 5 or 6, whenever the Lakers clinched in the bubble, right? Did they win in 5 games? Versus the Heat? I think they did.
It was 5 or 6. I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
Whatever it was. Game 5, let's say, of the NBA Finals where the Lakers clinched. LeBron won a ring in Los Angeles. There's this whole media coverage. Game 5 of the NBA Finals has less viewers than a regular season Minnesota Vikings Detroit Lions game.
Yeah.
By a lot.
But you just asked me if it was 5 or 6. I have absolutely no idea because I didn't watch any of the finals last year. Like I'm kind of getting back into the NBA because I have 2K, but if I didn't have 2K, I would not watch a second of NBA basketball.
Exactly.
So I mean, like I said, I thought they were more popular than ever. Maybe it's just because on our site maybe they make it seem like it's the most popular thing ever. But so it's just I just think the NFL does such a better job marketing and growing than all the other sports in America combined. Like and honestly, the NFL is lucky that people just love football, but there are people out there who just love baseball too and just love basketball, but the NBA and the MLB don't do anything to help themselves.
What it really comes down to is the fact that the NFL has solidified that they own a day of the week. They own Sundays.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The NBA, the MLB, they have games going every day. People can tune in and out as much as they want to go watch other things. The NFL owns Sunday, and they own a majority of Monday nights and Thursday nights.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Think about the Steelers game that went on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night. That was like literally one of the most watched games in all of sports this past year because it was football on a Wednesday. People got excited about it, and they own whenever their time block is. I mean, there's nothing really else to say.
And like while we're on this, like like the NFL's done a great job marketing people, but they also got lucky with the fact that people, like I said, they just like football. Like
100%.
You couldn't like. When I started writing, I thought I would cover basketball. I thought I was going to cover everything. And I do. I give myself some credit. I cover a lot of things.
You do.
I don't really want to cover anything but football.
Yeah.
Like every time someone asks me about the FCS, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Like, you can't get many views. I'm like, yeah, I don't get many views, but I would rather cover tennis than the NBA. So like, it's just, it's funny. It's funny how things happen, but okay. Now officially into the NFL, what we always want to talk about anyways. We will go over Tom's article. He'll explain it to you a little bit, but first we need to talk about the real news, and that is the Javian Clowney is going to sign with the Browns on Wednesday.
All right.
No, it's not set in stone, but Josina Anderson reported last night they were working to arrange a second meeting this week. I saw before I came on, he'll fly out, I guess either Tuesday night or something. He'll be here on Wednesday. And the belief is around the league that he will strike a deal. Before I want to make sure every Browns fan out there know you need to temper your excitement because there is a very high chance that he doesn't see half the games this year. So obviously temper your excitement, but definitely, I mean, if they get Clowney and he turns out to be even not as just a little bit less as good of a player as Olivier Vernon was or has a year around that, the job that Andrew Berry has done as the GM of the Browns, I call it heroic. I mean, it's insane. If you looked at the Browns defense last year, they were horrible. I mean, other than Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, they were awful. So what are you doing?
I opened a window because it was hot in here, but now my eyes are starting to itch.
I just looked at your face. I was like, what is going on?
I have really, really bad allergies, especially when it's like, because it's hot. I'm in the hottest room in the house, and I'm sweating.
This is your own fault. I take no responsibility for this. But yes, the fact that Andrew Berry went from a defense to probably could have possibly you already have in my opinion, the best defensive end in the league in Myles Garrett, and anything that comes from either Takkarist McKinley or Javian Clowney is because of that. So that's awesome. But I mean, the Browns secondary, if they can, if they can trade up for J.C. Horn, which, yes, J.C. Horn. If anyone wants to know my position on the Browns draft pick, J.C. Horn, or I would take Surtain too. I don't want Farley. Only because there's no point in drafting another corner that has injury issues. So we don't need.
If you put the two together, they'll make a whole season. So there's got to be something said for that.
I guess so, but so yes, I would like the Browns to trade up. Yes, I do. I do think J.C. Horn's basement is probably 20 to the Colts. But like I said, I live in my own fairy tale world, and in that fairy tale world, we'll send like a fake second round pick to them for J.C. Horn and Jamar Chase, he also falls to the third round in my fairy tale mock draft. But no, like I said, the Browns have done. Andrew Berry needs to be applauded. Everyone thought John Dorsey was the man when he came in. He clearly had no idea what he was doing, but. It's cool to actually see a good GM back in Cleveland. The last time any Cleveland team had a decent GM was when the Cavs had him. I can't think of his name. He's, I believe he's with the Pelicans or the Hornets now. They had him as GM. So it's good. It's good for the city. And I wrote this today in one of my articles. Like, I've lived in Cleveland my entire life, and the last time this city was buzzing this much about a sports team was during the NBA Finals 2016. And like I said, I'm really excited for it, but we need to hold ourselves back a little bit. Do you have any other NFL news before we get into your article?
Not really. Things have kind of died down now, and it's just all draft stuff coming out from the top end reporters. So
yeah, it's draft news, or it's Clowney signing with the Browns.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on. Tom took a really long time to write this article. I'm gonna let him explain it to you, and we're kind of gonna go through it, and we're gonna talk some things out. We're gonna be like a team. We're gonna talk some things out. Because I definitely don't agree with everything you put on there. I agree with a lot of it.
Sure.
I don't agree with all of it, though. So
I'm sure.
It's your show. It's your show, Tom. Take it away.
Sure. So basically, I was given an assignment for an article. I struggled with it, so I pivoted to this. I was looking at
So this was not your assignment?
Well, I had talked out something with Ryan, and it was the trade thing I had talked to you about.
Oh, okay.
Looking back over, it was like looking back over the past 5 or 10 years of teams that had traded into the top 10 and kind of how things shook out. But the only issue is there was either way too much stuff on like certain trades, like the Rams trading up and giving up everything to the Redskins or whatever they were at the time. Mm-hmm. Or there was just not enough information, or there were no trades. There wasn't really enough. So I kind of pivoted, and I was looking at one of the news sites that I look at all of the free agent signings and everything.
Flurry
and I was
Sports.
Like, okay.
Author Justin Brownlow. Flurry
Right.
Sports.
Flurry Sports.
Just kidding.
And I was looking, I was like, okay, these are all great, but like this team here, I was looking really at the Jets. I'm like, they really need to do this. This is before the Sam Darnold trade. Then I looked at the Giants. I'm like, oh, yeah, they're doing great. They need to do that. I'm like, hey, I could make an article out of this. So my article is basically one move that every NFL team should make to improve Super Bowl chances, either in this season if they were close last year and they're contender, i.e. the Browns, or if they're a team like the Jets, what can you do to help you down the line to maybe possibly be in contention for even a playoff run within the next 5 years?
See, I really like what you did with this article, because clearly there are teams that are a long way away from playoff contention, let alone Super Bowl contention. But I thought everything that you put in here, for the most part, was at least bettering the team. Like I said, I do agree with some different things, but I liked it a lot. And if you ever, I already told you about it. So yeah. Well, it's your show, so we can start with wherever you want.
We're probably not
just talk it into it. We'll talk it into existence.
I mean, I feel like we should just get the first one out of the way, just to kind of talk about something that you don't like. And with Arizona, I mean, they lost Patrick Peterson in the offseason to the Vikings. Their secondary was not great even with Patrick Peterson. So I really do think that they need to find his replacement. I looked at the free agents who were remaining. No one really got me excited. And with them sitting at 16, they're in prime spot to land one of the guys. So one of the guys, either Surtain, Farley, or Horn. So I think that they really need to go and draft Patrick Peterson's replacement. Yeah,
I 100% agree. It sucks because, like I said, I want the Browns to get him. Patrick Peterson was kind of just a guy there in his last year. I think they'll miss him more maybe in the return game than actually covering anyone. And unfortunately for the Browns this year, it seems to be it's like the top three of Surtain, Horn, and Farley, even though Farley is dropped pretty far. And then there are names like Eric Stokes and then Elijah Molden. But you definitely want one of those top three.
100%.
But Arizona, we kind of talked about this with Lamar Jackson. Arizona needs to do what they can do right now to build a contender as soon as they can. Because we've said it before, Kyler Murray's game isn't going to translate well when he's 32. So
right. Yeah, and the secondary was the issue on that Cardinals defense. The linebackers and the defensive line did their job well enough. I'm not saying that they're amazing or they're top 5 in the league or anything, but no team was running all over the Falcons. The real harm came through the air. So then I would have brought back Peterson on a 1-year deal like the Vikings gave him, maybe just to keep a body and to keep a leader in a locker room. But you still needed to get another guy in that secondary.
Yeah. So question: if you're a GM and you're picking at 16. Surtain's off the board. We'll say that.
Sure.
Who are you taking, Farley or Horn?
So
I think it's a really tough decision.
Yeah, putting aside the injury history for Farley, because did he opt out this year? I feel like he opted out this season. So let's put the injury aside because full year off. He's been training his body, getting ready, work through whatever. If you're looking at just the skill set, I feel like Horn is a better player overall, simply because he's had a lot of experience playing the position and has played at versus good competition. He was at South Carolina, so he played legit guys or whatever. And I'm not saying that Virginia Tech doesn't play anyone, but Farley was actually, I think, a quarterback in high school. And then when he went to college, transitioned to receiver, but he couldn't catch the ball really well. So then they transitioned him over to corner. And there's still some things that he needs to learn how to play the position, but he has the physical traits and abilities that you look for in a corner and could in a stud corner, to say the least. So he's a guy with a really high ceiling, but he's got a little bit of a lower floor from Horn. But even though I think Horn can even match his ceiling, so I would go Horn at 16, but I would not be surprised if they decide to go Farley.
Yeah, the whole reason I asked that is just so you could give me like 2 minutes so I could think myself into wanting Caleb Farley, and sure. I have successfully done that. He was a quarterback in high school in Maiden, North Carolina. As a senior, he passed for 1,700 yards and 21 touchdowns, and he really was a running back too. He rushed for over 2,500 yards and 37 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, he was a high school quarterback. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, but what you said about Horn and Farley is 100% true. Like I said, I am only at the point now where I need to talk Farley into existence because a weird thing that I read about this draft that I guess I didn't know, but it makes sense. You look at a guy like J.C. Horn. He has the right genetics to be an NFL player. Mm-hmm. I know it's kind of cliche, but he has the genetics to succeed at the NFL. The only question surrounding Horn for me is his ball production. He had 2 interceptions in 3 years at South Carolina. That was partly because they weren't throwing at him a ton, but it's also because he needs to work on his technique. I too would take Horn. I would have to look at game by game to look at either Surtain or Horn. But with the way a lot of receivers play in the NFL, I think how physical Horn is really helps him out. It's going to really help him out.
Yeah, the only problem with his physicality sometimes is he gets a little bit grabby, and that causes flags at the next level. But that could be coached up. That's not a problem.
And if we look at it from the past couple of years, I mean, corner's kind of been a boomer bust thing. I mean, Browns got super lucky with Denzel Ward. They struck out with Reedy Williams. And I mean, just last year, Jeff Okudah went the third pick, and
flamed out.
So I think corners is one of the hardest things to translate to the NFL, which is partly, I think, because of some of the rules. We're not going to get into it because I'll just get angry, but obviously the NFL does everything they can in their power to
make the offense good. So. Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
We're only going to do 15 today, or half of them today. We'll do the other half tomorrow.
That's
or
fine.
Whatever, last week.
Yeah,
you can bounce around, or you can do whatever you want.
I'm just going to keep it in order so that when we come back on Thursday, we know exactly where we left off.
A lot more sense.
I could also just highlight them if you want to talk about specific teams. I'll just highlight them on here. Okay.
No, I like going through it. Sure. These are all great talking points.
Sure.
Maybe you can make that. Maybe you'll make the outline next time.
I mean, if you want me to, I'm good with doing whatever. Anyway, so I did these in alphabetical order. So Arizona was first. So now we're moving on to Atlanta, the Falcons. They're in one of the harder positions draft wise to kind of not take a quarterback with them sitting at 4. I've seen mock drafts with them taking Kyle Pitts, but that doesn't really make sense since they traded for Hayden Hurst last year, and he did relatively well. I really think Matt Ryan's time is kind of done. I know we talked about Matt Ryan, I think last time, where he's super spotty. He goes through 2 years of garbage to get an MVP-like year, and 2 years of garbage. And, I know it's going to be a huge cap hit for him to get unloaded and for him to get traded or cut. the Falcons need to find a trade partner for him and move on and take whatever quarterback they can at 4. Especially if the 49ers take Mac Jones. That means they'll have their choice of Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, or Trey Lance. So whichever one they want of those 3 and whoever's left.
Did you just forget about the Jets?
I'm not 100% sold that they're going Wilson.
Are you working it into your brain that the Jets won't draft Wilson? Because I love that from you if you're doing that right now.
No,
just keep telling yourself.
I'm just keeping the door open because I don't want to fall head over heels like I did with Josh Allen for the Jets not to take him. So
it's a terrible position because you basically the best thing to do right now is just say nothing about any of them. Just say nothing.
Exactly. And then just come on, I got the one I wanted. Let's go.
He was my number 1 all along.
Yeah. But going back with Atlanta, Matt Ryan, he's been there forever. He's been a great quarterback for them, got him to a Super Bowl, choked it. They need to take a new quarterback. And in my opinion, I'm assuming that Zach Wilson goes to the Jets. If I had my choice between Lance and Fields, I would probably go with Fields. I think they can market the crap out of him going back to Georgia because he played the 1 year at Georgia before Ohio State and then also was from there. So whoever is left, you can decide that quarterback, but I think they got to move on from Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I agree with most of your points. Who would you think maybe? I think they're going to have a hard time getting rid of Matt Ryan. I just don't know who would take him. I mean,
sure.
He's almost too expensive to be a backup, and then not good enough to be a starter though.
I mean, before they went on their spending spree of getting mediocre players, I would have thought the Texans potentially, if Deshaun Watson had not kind of settled everything, and if he wasn't ready, which he's not. But they did go out and get Tyrod Taylor, who is the second ultimate bridge quarterback. Fitzpatrick is obviously number 1. But I would have thought there, Miami, if they're not sold on Tua, could be a potential team there, and they have capital to give up for him. Not that he's super expensive in my opinion, but and honestly, the Steelers, if Big Ben retires next year, they could trade for Matt Ryan. Take on the cap hit. So there are teams that need him.
That's true. Like I said, I think it's going to be tough for them to find Matt Ryan. I don't think it would be a terrible idea to just stick at 4 and pick Lance. I'm all for Justin Fields, but I think Lance could be really, really, really good if he got to sit for a year.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100% too. I like Lance there as well. I said Fields if they're ready to go now, but Lance needs to be behind someone. I still think he should go to San Francisco at 3, sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for the duration of his contract, and then let Shanahan have fun or whatever. But yeah, I agree. Him going there would just be a fantastic place for him to just sit back and learn. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take us to the next one because I have something to say about the next one. Obviously, the Bills are next. You said that sign tight end Jordan Reed to start tight end. 100% agree. The Bills messed up horrifically by not picking up Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry.
I agree wholeheartedly.
They should have backed because after I saw what you said with Jordan Reed, I kind of went back and thought over it, and I'm like, other than like a better running back, maybe an upgrade a little bit running back, the Bills are one tight end away from a title.
Yeah.
So I think they seriously messed up there. I've been calling for Hunter Henry to the Bills since I heard they weren't going to franchise tag him. I said it on here a couple times. It would have been perfect because he's a very good blocker. People don't understand how good of a blocker Hunter Henry is, but he also is Arkansas.
Exactly. He went to Arkansas. He's a great blocker, and he is a really good receiver. And a lot of people forget his rookie year when he was more of a receiver than a blocker because they had Antonio Gates. He was absolutely amazing, and he still has both those skills together. He would have been a perfect fit. They wouldn't have need to run 2 or 3 tight ends. They could have ran Hunter Henry, but they missed out. And not only did they miss out he signed in division, which really sucks.
Yeah, they're going to be watching Hunter. Well, just for everyone's sake, let's just hope nothing with the Patriots. Just hope nothing.
Right. But yeah,
I once I saw Jordan Reed, which isn't a terrible backup plan at all. I mean, little nervous about his injuries and he's getting older.
But does, like I said in here, he doesn't really need to be the guy. He just needs to be the pass catcher. And like they have 2 other tight ends, I think, that are relatively decent.
See, that's what differs, I think, between me and you. I literally think the Bills were a Hunter Henry signing away from a Super Bowl.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree 100%. Like the Bills are one of the more complete teams in the league. They have a very solid defense. I think it was top 5, borderline top 5, if not. They have a star quarterback, a star receiver paired with a solid wide receiver too now that they signed Emmanuel Sanders. Their O-line gives Josh Allen enough time. I'm not going to say that they're amazing or they're garbage. They give him enough time and all the time he needs. Their running back, like you said, it could be better, but they're a team that throws the ball. And if they're running, most of it's with Josh Allen. But
yeah, I mean, you could say even that maybe the Colts have the best offensive line in the league. Disgusting when you said that. It's not the best offensive line in the league. I corrected it for you, though.
I changed it to one of.
Yeah, I was going to tell you to put in like a stat, like a PFF grade or something.
I don't want to pay for PFF, so.
Yeah, but you get a free.
I do.
There's like the top 3 are free. I don't know, whatever. I just look at it all the time.
Whatever. I changed it to one of, and I kept in my opinion. So.
I like Jordan Reed is a good backup plan. I just really think that once they get into the season next year and towards the end, they're going to look back and be like, we were really one signing away from a Super Bowl. So
well, and in all honesty, if we look at their draft spot, they have the 30th overall pick. In my mock draft, I haven't taken a running back because I think I had ETN slip to them. And he would be an absolute upgrade over Devin Singletary. I think Singletary is awful. But if they really wanted to, I wouldn't mind seeing them get Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. He's nicknamed Baby Gronk. He could do a little bit of everything, kind of like what we were just talking about Hunter Henry. Yeah. It's a little bit of a reach because he's supposed to go second round, but like he's not going to be there by the time they pick again. So if they really want to get their guy and they want to get that tight end, take Freiermuth, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't hate that. It's a weird year for tight ends because when you say tight ends in the draft year, I just think of Kyle Pitts.
It's Pitts, Freiermuth, and then the field. That's really what it is. And there's a big gap between them.
I don't hate that at all. Who's next for you?
Oh, Baltimore.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean,
this one's pretty obvious.
You're pretty. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like shocking how long Baltimore has. And I know we were talking shit about Lamar Jackson and how I give him credit, man. He's got nobody to throw to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a stat the past 2 years they've thrown for 3,000 yards or maybe 4,000 yards sounds about right. They literally don't break 2,000 passing yards in a season, and it's not Lamar Jackson's fault in some instances. I mean, he needs a true wide receiver 1.
Yeah, and I do think part of that is because there's a limit on Jackson's throwing ability.
Yep.
But I mean. All you hear is Packers fans being like, "Why don't they draft Rodgers?" Ravens fans should be burning down the city asking for a receiver. If Packers fans are really gonna get mad about it, Ravens fans have to be like, "Oh my God, we haven't had a wide receiver since Steve Smith played for them."
Exactly, it's literally since Steve Smith played for him. They have Marquise Brown is their one, and that is where the first issue comes. Can you name me the rest of their receivers currently?
No. I think Perriman played for him last year.
No, Rashad Perriman played for the Jets last year.
I don't know. I know what you're going to say. Just go ahead. Yeah,
Willie Snead is their wide receiver 2. I don't even know who their wide receiver 3 is. I know Des Bryant comes in for red zone stuff, but they don't have receivers.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a little bit different, not much, but it would be a little bit different if instead of like 5'9" and super fast, Marquise Brown was like a 6'3" route running physical receiver. I think it would be better. But I mean, just the fact that he's 5'9" and can literally, I mean, he
doesn't have a route tree.
Yeah, he's midi me of Tyreek Hill, basically. That has absolutely, yeah, you're right. I mean,
he has no route tree. Literally the only routes he can run are fly routes where he's just going to the end zone, or he can do a post because he can take one step this way and then go over here. That's really it.
Yeah.
Like he can't do the short game routes. He can't really do the mid game routes. He's really a deep ball receiver, and that's all they have. So
and what pick do they have?
They have the pick before or after the Browns. So like 26, 27 area, maybe 24.
It might be 25th. I don't know. Well, the Browns pick 26, so it might be 25th. I'm just thinking. So they're in the mid 20s somewhere. They
have 27. I was right.
That's towards the end. That's not as ideal as I thought. But there's a good chance that a guy like Rondale Moore, Terrence Marshall, Rashad Bateman. No, I think he's going to go earlier. I think he'll go to the Bears. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, that's a really good fit. I think I had mentioned that actually in one of my.
I'm sure you did because there's a reason why it's in my head, and I know I didn't think of that opinion by myself. I really think of my opinions. Who are we on? So they're in the 20s, so you got to think a guy like Rashad Bateman will fall, Rondale Moore might fall, Terrence Marshall Jr., who we probably won't get to the Browns today, so I'll just say it.
Yeah, we will.
We might. Okay. But one of those receivers is going to be available for them. So if they don't take one this year, they're literally just looking at Lamar Jackson be like, we don't care about you or your health.
Yeah. Well, and like to be fair, they did make an attempt to sign Juju Smith-Schuster and T.Y. Hilton, and they offered him more money than the Steelers and the Colts, but they still signed back. Like that kind of sucks. But like at the same time, you shouldn't be just going for them. They should have been after Will Fuller. They should have been after Kenny Golladay. They should have been after literally name any other receiver that signed. They need receivers.
And Lamar Jackson's a great player. Like he's pretty good right now. Like I said, we've talked about not going to translate, whatever. If I'm a receiver in the NFL, I don't want to play in Baltimore's offense.
No, absolutely not. It's run heavy.
That's the last place I want to play. And I hate to break it to you, Baltimore Ravens fans, Hines Wards don't exist in the NFL anymore. The guys that are on wide receivers because they block, Hines Ward doesn't exist anymore. So, I mean, obviously if they draft, the guy doesn't really have a choice. But if I'm a receiver in the NFL, and offense is at a premium right now, and people are paying a lot of money for receivers, I'm not going to go catch 35 balls on 57 targets for 427 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
So I like that one.
Next is Carolina. I had to go back and rewrite this after the trade because I was talking about them taking whatever quarterback was left for them at 8. So with the Sam Darnold trade, I went back and wrote, figure out if Sam Darnold has enough weapons to draft anything other than a wide receiver, which is a little wordy, but like Sam Darnold has they have some weapons. Obviously, he's reconnected with Robbie Anderson, who they combined for a lot of yards for when they were together on the Jets. They have DJ Moore, who's supposedly a young stud. Curtis Samuel signed with the Washington football team, so he's no longer there.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Him and Terry McLaurin were roommates, so they were talking. Yeah. There's a whole story about them, like, oh, imagine if we played together. So he went and did that. But another receiving weapon is Christian McCaffrey. You can't forget about him. I mean, the guy can literally do both. So you have to figure out if that's enough.
Unfortunately, I think for Christian McCaffrey, like his injuries are starting to become a real issue. Like I would have trouble signing him as a free agent. I love Christian McCaffrey. He's probably my favorite prospect since in a long time. Because, I mean, whoever thinks about the really fast running back white dude, I mean, they don't exist anymore. They're not real. So, but yeah, I mean, and it sucks because I won't get caught off tangent. The Panthers did nothing really to help Christian McCaffrey once Cam Newton left, so it was weird.
But
and so what did you say they're going to do?
I said they need to make the choice of taking Waddle or Devonta Smith if they think he needs another weapon, or they really need to plug the hole in the defense that was left by Luke Kuechly, because we saw last year that losing him has absolutely destroyed that defense. Even with all the picks that they used on defense last year, I think they picked defensive player with every pick. It just wasn't enough. So if a guy like Micah Parsons is there, like he could be a fantastic replacement.
Yeah, Micah Parsons, absolutely. Like I said, the only issue with him I have is coverage. If you're going to draft him not to be a coverage guy, that's perfect.
He's actually not horrible.
I do want to. He's not terrible, but it's just not what he was primarily used at Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I was going to say. It'll come to me in a second. Something about the receivers.
Smith and Waddle.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they need a receiver at all.
I don't think so either, but if they took Waddle and they had Anderson, Moore, and Waddle, that's a really solid set of receivers. Because you're not getting the receiving production out of the tight end, because their tight end is Ian Thomas. So they're not getting that receiving production. So if you wanted to say, okay, get him 3 receivers in McCaffrey, and you'll just say, the tight end isn't the third receiver, we have 3 in McCaffrey, like that's fine. But I think they need one more minimum, but they got to decide if it's enough. So I would personally go Parsons, but
I would go. Oh, that's what I was going to say. It sucks, and I just want to get this out there. People won't remember Luke Kuechly a lot. Luke Kuechly was the best linebacker I've ever seen by far, and he's up there with like Troy Polamalu as some of the best defenders I've ever seen. When the Browns played against the Panthers, I think 2 years ago, because it wasn't last year, it was the year before, Jarvis Landry got a reverse and ran it 80 yards downfield. Luke Kuechly started 10 yards behind him and caught up to him, so he didn't score. I was in shock. Like, it sucks. Luke Kuechly is one of the best linebackers to ever play the game. I think he will make the Hall of Fame, and it just sucks that head injuries happened. But, yeah, I just wanted to bring up Luke Kuechly because I think it's forgotten how good he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Parsons, Pika Marsons. I think that would be a huge pickup for them. And I think he'll definitely be there too. If I'm also kind of trying to conduct another fairy tale in my fairy tale world that Micah Parsons falls. No, right. I don't want a linebacker that can't cover as well. So
yeah.
But yeah, I like that choice. I mean, I just, if that's your plan and you're the Panthers, you kind of have to make a decision before the year if you're going to keep going forward with Sam Darnold or not.
Yeah, that's
because I agree. If they're going to give him a shot and keep him for a year or more than a year, maybe it might as well.
I know they already signed his 5th year option tenure, so he's there for minimum 2 years. So in my opinion, that means that you can afford to take Parsons and fix the defense. But I'm not the NFL GM. I'm not the GM of the Panthers. So
yeah. And I mean, this is no offense to Sam Darnold or anything, but I guess if you're the Panthers, you kind of look at it like, hey, we'll draft a receiver this year or a playmaker like that. We'll draft one this year. We'll see what Sam Darnold can do. And it shouldn't really hurt too much because either they're good with Sam Darnold and they want to stick with him, or B, they're not good and
they can pick a new quarterback next year.
Yeah. I don't think Sam Darnold by himself is leading you to 4 or 5 wins or something.
And now you understand why I wanted the Jets to stick with Darnold one more year. That's literally the entire argument that I made on here.
I know. I understand. I get it. But I've told you, just start thinking about Zach Wilson and just start to accept it. Because then when draft day comes, it's just a good thing.
Sure.
Who's next? The Bears. Okay.
Chicago. All right. I had a lot of fun looking up the information for this one. So for the Bears, I do not believe that Andy Dalton nor Nick Foles is the quarterback of the future and will not be leading them to a Super Bowl anytime soon. So I don't think that they're in any position whatsoever to take a quarterback in the first round or even the second round, because I think Trask will be gone by then, as well as one of the other guys that I'm forgetting his name. So they need to find that quarterback that's going to be the Dak Prescott of this draft, where they found him on day 3, late round, and he turned out to be great. And I listed off a couple of guys that it could be. I talked about it potentially being Kellen Monde, or
I was going to say we already know who it is. It's Kellen Monde. The Bears are drafting Kellen Monde. You talked that into existence. It happened.
I did.
Yes.
I wrote them like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I kind of wrote it, and some football guy was like, "Hey, I like that. Let's make it happen."
While you were reading this, I was like, "Yeah, you're talking about Kellen Monde." Yeah.
Yeah. But it could be Sam Ehlinger. I don't think it will be, but it could be him, or Ian. Even if Ian Book decided he was going to be great in the NFL, you just got to find that guy.
And honestly, even if you don't find that guy, you got to draft a quarterback somewhere in the late rounds, just to at least appease your fan base and let them think there has been a competition in the spring.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the city of Chicago almost burnt down when they said they signed Andy Dalton.
Well, it's also very ironic that you have Andy Dalton in this part of it, in this section.
Why is that?
You have him on there. He's 25. The gem in the late rounds.
35. Yeah, he's there.
Yeah.
Hello.
So basically, you're telling us right now that thing doesn't work. Because
sometimes. Well, look at the rest of the list, right? Tom Brady was 199. Russell Wilson was picked 75. Prescott 135. I literally just went down the list of starting quarterbacks in the league that were taken in the second round or later, and that's what came out. So what if Drew Lock is 42 and still on there? He's still a starting quarterback that was in the second round.
You know who I put on there? Chad Kelly.
Man.
He had a pro day.
I love Chad Kelly. Anyway,
Chad Kelly is 100% going to go to the that fan-controlled football league that Johnny Manziel played in.
It'll be him versus Johnny Manziel in the final. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Whoa! It's not just Johnny Manziel. It's Johnny Manziel and Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
Hey, come on. They're repping Cleveland out here. Come on now.
Anyway, this one's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, Cincinnati.
Yeah, I feel bad for Bears fans. If you think about the Jets and the Browns and guys that have never had a quarterback, the Bears belong in that conversation, even though they had Jay Cutler, who I actually really liked when he was in the league.
Yeah, he was underrated. I was looking back at his stats. Underrated.
But yeah, I mean, the Bears, it's been bad for them too. So, and unfortunately, they're never, ever, ever in the next 50 years, not going to ever live down trading up one spot, losing your first round pick, and the next year to get a guy Mitch Trubisky. They're never going to live it down. And even more proof that they're never going to live it down is the fact that it was Mahomes that went after him. And wasn't Deshaun Watson in the same draft?
Yeah. Watson went 10. No, Mahomes went 10. Watson went 12.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, like I said, they are never, ever going to live that down until they have a new general manager. So
I don't even know if they can at that. Yeah, the Bengals. I mean, this one's self-explanatory. Joe Burrow needs to be protected. We saw what he was doing without a line and what happened. I got a little more specific than just, get an offensive line. They need to sign one, if not both, of the linemen that the Chiefs cut in Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz, just to go play the tackle spots and provide some sort of resistance on the outside. I know Sewell is likely to go there.
I don't think Sewell. Even if he's on the board, I don't think Sewell goes there.
Really?
I think they'll take a receiver. I've seen nothing about them. The only things I've seen recently are they want a receiver.
I mean, I guess with AJ Green gone, all they have is T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd.
Well, it's also in the Bengals defense. It's also them trying not to openly admit that they fucked up by drafting Jonah, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And they have to move, and now they have to move him to the inside, or they have to move him inside. He's 6'4".
Yeah, no, he needs to be moved inside. And like I said, like taking Sewell and getting one, if not both of these linemen that the Chiefs cut, like they will instantly be better, in my opinion. Like if you don't want to take Sewell and you want to get a receiver, then you need to sign both of them. And the fact that they're still both on the market, I guess is kind of scary and shouldn't really be.
I would say it's more scary than anything. I wouldn't say it's good. I think it's scary. I would sign Eric Fisher because I think he's a little younger. I would have trouble signing Mitchell Schwartz. I think he's like 33, 34.
Yeah, but if you wanted to just sign, I mean, they also cut Austin Reeder, I think is his name. He was a free agent or something. Just sign some people. Take one of the tackles then and draft Sewell. Or if you want a receiver at 5, sign both of them. You can sign a tackle next year that'll replace Schwartz, but like you got to get him some line help. They didn't address it whatsoever in free agency, and it's kind of crazy to me that this guy that you invested the number 1 overall pick in, you don't want to protect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much adding a tackle last year's Bengals team would have helped that much, but hopefully Joe Burrow has grown a little bit, and I just hope he's not like dead because of his knee. That'd be unfortunate. I don't want him to be the next Tim Couch.
Right. So this will be our last one because we're coming up on the 90-minute mark.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that to you. So with the Browns, you have trade for Farley or Horn.
Trade up. Yeah.
Trade up.
I don't think either one makes it to 26.
I don't think either one does either. And
so you're going to have to give up something?
I don't. Unfortunately, I think there's better chances that the Browns trade back than they trade up. I could see them dropping into like the mid 30s, early 40s, because at that point, guys like Sean Wade will still be on the board, Asante Samuel Jr.
Eric Stokes.
So yeah, I think Eric Stokes eventually squeezes into late first round or early second, just because once again corners are such a need.
Hey, if the Browns want to trade down to the Jets' second pick in the second round, or that second pick in round 2, I'd be okay with that.
I mean that'd be right to your wheelhouse to draft a receiver. Then,
yep,
you think?
Yeah,
like I said, you have Marshall, Rondale Moore. I wouldn't build my team around Rondale Moore, especially if I'm the Jets, considering you just did that with
Crowder.
I
mean, the Jets have a solid receiving core. I don't think they would take a receiver. I think they would be doing it to get a lineman at that point, or get a running back if they took lineman with that 23 pick. I really like the kid out of Oklahoma State. I forget his name right now.
Creed?
No, the other one. What is his name? Hang on, I'll look it up. You keep talking.
What position does he play?
He's offensive line. I think he's tackle. I'm looking at right now. Oh, well, Justin's gone. I'm thinking of Tevin Jenkins is the guy I was thinking of. If the Jets wanted to take him at 23, where we got the Seahawks pick, and then if they traded back up with the Browns so that they could slide down, they could get a running back, or they could, flip the picks or do whatever they're looking for.
I believe that happened. I actually.
Yeah, you did it. You typed up top. I got you.
Yes. And I was like, I kept saying his name. I was like, Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah, it's Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh my God, I switched off.
Yeah, Tevin Jenkins was the guy I was looking for.
Time out. We have some breaking news. It's good news. Julian Adaman is retiring. I'm looking at it on.
I saw he was supposed to miss all of 2021 with a knee injury, and I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if he was done. I mean,
yeah, it says he's expected to retire. Just a shout out to a guy who played for a terrible team in the NFL but went to a great university, Kent State. It sucks that you had to win Super Bowls, and now if I see you in my city, I'm probably going to stab you or break your knee. But it's good career for Julian Edelman. It is crazy. If you would have asked me 20 years ago if Julian Edelman would have had that kind of career, I'd have been like, the quarterback at Kent State, you're kidding me. So yeah, cheers to him. But actually now I think what we should do now is we should accept him into our friend group. He's past.
He's no longer Boston.
Yes, he's past the Patriot days. Julian, if you want to join our fan group, you're more than welcome now.
Come on the show. I'm all about it.
We won't ask you anything about Tom Brady or your days playing for the Patriots, but you can definitely come on. We don't want to hear about your Super Bowls.
I don't want to hear about any of it, actually.
All I want to hear about is the Super Bowls that you lost. I want to hear about all of them.
What was it like with I can't even. Anyway, yeah, but if the Jets wanted to trade back up after taking Tevin Jenkins at 23 or taking a running back to get Tevin Jenkins at 23, I'd be more than open to that.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's I would rather the Browns just stay in place and kind of see what falls to them.
Yeah. They could always trade back after the clock or like on the clock.
Yeah. And I think that they need to at least be monitoring the corners, where they're going and things like that. Which I mean, I say this like they're not an NFL team and they're like backwards in society. Obviously, they're going to do their homework on corners. So, but yeah, they just need to. I mean, I will say this, and you said it in the article too. If Horn gets past 16, I think the Browns need to really, 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 really start looking at trading up into that top 20, because it won't. The only thing I wouldn't give up next year's first round for it. I can give up next year's second round for it, but
yeah, I wouldn't give up that much to move up, because
we've seen it with corners. I mean, they're hard to project. So obviously that was part of Tom's article. We're going to go through the rest of the teams. Probably do 10 more Thursday, or whenever we record, and then 10 more at the end. Like I said, we're heading straight into football. So if you don't like football, first of all, what's wrong with you? And second of all, what's wrong with you? But we're going to be going all in on football. I will do a little bit of the preview for the FCS selection show also when we record later this week. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the day. We had trivia, but
not really.
I don't want to do trivia. So like I said, we'll be recording probably Wednesday or Thursday. It'll be out. So we'll definitely get some more NFL teams in. And like I said, I'll do a little preview of the FCS playoffs, give you some of the gambling picks. And I don't know, Tom, you got anything else, man? Hey, we still got 50 seconds. We got a minute and 50 seconds to talk. So
yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that I finally got this article done. I've been working on it for basically a month.
It's like I'll keep looking at it, but it all. Like I said, the only thing I would do is split it up a little bit, which is the easy part now, considering you already did it.
Yeah, I mean, I could split it up into a couple of different ones. I probably should have done that looking back at it, but for back sports, I think I'm just going to put it all on one, just for now. And then if I go and update it after the draft, let's say, I'll probably break it up. But for now, since it's all together and already in Word, I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah, makes sense. So I think also maybe early next week or the second show next week, we should kind of do the kind of a draft kind of thing.
100%. After this week, I was thinking we'd start doing a breakdown, and we could get your whiteboard, or I actually have a whiteboard.
I got two of them now, so we're good.
Yeah, I'm also planning on getting one that'll be like relatively big, so we could could do a whole mock.
I don't know if anyone could see really behind me. I have my Manchester United thing and then my Eddie George over there. My plan is for the rest of the room, like, you know how like killers and serial killers have like the connected pictures, just whiteboards everywhere. But yeah, definitely keep listening in, and we're obviously going to keep going on the NFL and the NFL draft. It's been a great show. 15 seconds. Tom, anything else to say?
Scott, baby. He didn't end the show. Sco Dogs, that's all else I have to say. Justin can't close it out like that.